Welcome, everyone, back to another episode of If It Be Your Will podcast coming to you. The summer's almost here, thank goodness. I'm happy about that. I have Kayla, who is the After Hours band, and it's spelled after and then O-U-R-S, which are a very good play on words there. A double entente, as we say here in Quebec, because we have French and English here in Quebec.
Of course.
Just to give you that lens of which I look through. Kayla, thanks so much. Like, as I was telling you before we hopped on here, that Kayla's latest release, Imaginary Friend, came out in 2025. And it fell off my radar for some reason. And then the first track, which we're going to play at the end of this podcast, so stay tuned. When we stop talking, Kayla will start singing. You will love this track. And the record just kind of flows from that first track all the way through. So don't turn this off until Kayla stops singing. So it was, kind of on my radar. And this first song kind of like opened this whole door up. And then I like reached out to Kayla right away. And I was like, Kayla, please come talk to me. I want to hear about this record and how you made it and all that stuff. And she graciously agreed. So, Kayla coming in from Brooklyn. Thanks for joining me. Kayla, I like foundational questions to start. And this one is foundational. What is it about music that's got you hooked? Were there salient moments that you can recall from in your timeline where music was like, bang, I love this stuff. I'm doing this.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, I've always been pretty decent at things, but I've never really excelled in anything. So, like the whole master of none, a jack of all trades kind of thing. And I think I reached a point in my life where I was like, I don't ever have to master anything, but I surely should attempt. And I really thought and think still, music was that thing for me. Growing up, my older brother was really into music. He, played Battle of the Bands in middle school, and then he kind of pivoted to being in a punk band, then a hardcore band. Then he moved into like Latin guitar, and then kind of landed in, the like Django Reinhardt style of jazz. And he's 8 years older than me. So when I was in high school and he was in his 1920s jazz moment, I would sing with him, and I would, we would do jazz standards. And I was like, this just feels really good. I didn't have to write anything. I had to just learn the songs and how they were laid out. And I just tried my best to hit those notes, and it was really fun. And as I got older, I've always been told like, hey, you have a really pretty, like unique voice. Like you should try writing something. And I would always say, thank you so much. But I would never do much with it because in my brain, I was like, I'm no writer. Like I struggle even writing emails, like really short emails to people. Like I was like, surely there's no way that I could write a song. And I also never learned, music theory. I didn't really understand why one chord led into the next, or how you would, have a verse into a bridge into a chorus. Like it didn't come naturally to me and didn't make sense. But I was like, that's okay, because I think a lot of my favorite songs ever made are legitimately 2 to 3 chords and very repetitive, but yet very compelling. And I was like, maybe I should try. So that's what kind of led me here. And yeah, I just think music was my very first, I want to say love, but then I think I like to use the word lust, and then now has become a great love of mine. So
right. As it kind of like grows on you and you get more used to that way of communicating with people.
Totally.
I love too that your brother was such an influence on you as you're growing up, eh? Like, because it does, like family and where music starts to fill in, like through the artists I've talked with, early recollections are still like, you remember them so crisply. And it really like hinges that person to that music that they end up creating. And I echo that. I mean, your voice was so distinctive, and that's what I love, a female voice that doesn't sound like every other voice. You have such great melody and conviction, and also your highs and lows. Like you can really, like, how did you find your voice? I guess I'm getting at, because you do have these endearing songs that are very, candlelit bedroom poppy, and then you have these other rockers that you go for it on.
Yeah.
where you have you're up in the higher register. How did you kind of navigate finding where your voice was going to be?
I think for most singers, there's always a comfortable range. And then when it's time to actually lay something down, you kind of have to leave that range for just a moment in time. Because I think anything too comfortable, though it may sound decent, I think it's really easy for listeners to be like, they could go a little harder, or like they could maybe, just try to hit a note. And even if you mess up, it's really charming to like be like not perfectly in pitch or in tune or whatever. And that's what I tried to do with this second project. I think the first project, I was definitely in my comfortable range, but the way that it was produced and the songs that were written, like it made sense. But for this specific project, I kind of wanted to, try a little harder, get out of my comfortable zone. And also, I think the music that I listen to, like, I listen to, I mean, everyone says this, everything, but, my favorite music, from classic rock to like, punk music to really beautiful ballads. Like there's, it kind of goes everywhere. But like if you listen to like a punk band or like, listening to like Egg Punk, like they're talking and they're also screaming.
Mhm.
And it's really endearing, right? And then you listen to a beautiful ballad and it's just so perfectly in tune with everything. And I wanted to somehow combine all of the things that I love into my music. So I would definitely say I found my voice through other voices. And I think a lot of, I mean, that's every musician ever, especially now, there's only so many things you can sing and write and do that isn't reflective of someone else's work. So it's kind of a nod to all the art that I love.
Yeah, totally. And who did you find to help you with this record? Because it's such a mature sounding recording, like it sounds like you've been doing this for a while. Like,
yeah.
Who did you go to say, here are my songs, I want you to make them like bangers, or, like
Totally. Yeah.
What happened there? Can you fill the gaps of that story?
I got really lucky this time around because the first project that I have out, I made with a family friend. And then the second project, I wanted to make it with someone else. And it just so happened that this boy who was on my record label, who was a lot younger than me, he was all the way in Nashville, also produced music. And the two guys that ran my label were like, you should like maybe try to work with Jose. His name is Jose. And I was like, okay, I mean, we can see, but like, how, I mean, and I was still so green to everything. And in many ways, I still am, but I'm like, what if it doesn't work out? Like, is that like, do I still have to go for it? Because everyone's putting money into this and time, and I don't want to hurt anyone. Like, I don't know, but I got so lucky because I met Jose, and he is the most efficient, genius, little prodigy of a man that I've ever met. And I pretty much came in, and this was hilarious too. I came in with like 1 minute voice memos of all the songs that they weren't even finished, and they were just all played on an acoustic guitar. So there was no vibe. There was a lot of them had no choruses. And he took him and he said, okay, let's do it. And we kind of just facilitated the vibe on the spot. And, as you said, some songs are a bit more like eerie and quiet and folky. And then some are kind of like whiplash, and like, it just made sense. And I think I just got super, super, super lucky because he was a stranger and now he's like one of my friends. And we made that project. I went to Nashville twice. The first time I was there for 5 days, and the second time I was there for 4 days. So we finished writing and recorded everything within 9 days, which I thought was really cool. And the only thing that because I didn't want to rip off anyone, but, obviously I'm coming in with very bare bone demos. And he's like, is there any specific artist you or band that you want to reference per song? And I was like, yeah, And my second track, One Last Time, obviously is a bit more of an upbeat song. And the only band that I could think of that I would want it to be just, a morsel of epicness as much as them was Always. And I was like, I would love to do an ode to Always because they're the best. And he wrote that beginning riff that kind of flows throughout the track. And like, that is such like an Always riff, So
that sounds amazing though. I mean, it's such a great
thank you. Yeah.
song too. I mean, I'm fascinated too with this. So you came in with these ideas of nothing complete. What was the process that you guys went through to flush these songs out? So he kind of got an idea of where you saw each song equivalent to another band, and then how did the construction process, did you give a lot up, like in the sense that you allowed for a lot of freedom with the songs, or did you try to like keep it, you had an idea in your head when you went in to this whole project?
Yeah, I think it was a combination of both. I was willing to surrender because there was a reason why I was there. Because if I could do it myself, then I would have done it myself, right? So I really appreciated and was very open to what he thought and had to say. Obviously, some ideas I was like, no, and then we just moved on. But this specific record, all these songs that I wrote were songs that I started writing when I was 22 up until 25, 26. So it was a collection of songs I had written from my past. So one thing I wanted him to know was these songs were like my like nostalgia memory gems that, I wanted to reflect in terms of like sonically like music that I've been listening to since I was a teenager. Because this to me was like my like nostalgia record. It was kind of all the hidden songs that have never come out from like years and years and years prior, and I wanted to reflect it. So I think sonically it made sense that I would, have like a reference playlist full of a lot of like indie sleaze bangers, like a lot of like classic rock, because that's what I listened to growing up. But yeah, it was definitely a collaborative sound. And obviously there were moments where I was like, oh God, like, is this not me? Like, I don't know. And then there are moments also where I was like, no, it is, because you wrote these songs and you're singing them, and your voice is like the invisible string that carries throughout the whole record, even if one song sounds completely different than the one, previously and after.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, they do flow. I mean, I must say, like, I've listened to the LP quite a bit, and it always has this consistent, like, you're not totally shocked, and you're almost a little bit, like, cool. All right. Like these new arms start growing out of it.
Totally.
Listening through it, which I totally appreciate. Did you work like kind of one song at a time? So it was kind of like, okay, we'll start with this first one. We'll work through it all and record it all and then go on to the next? Or was it a little bit more messy than that?
It was one at a time,
okay,
which was hilarious because we wanted to like go back to a song. We were like, nah, we should just leave it. We're already kind of, like it's something else to do. That was a very one at a time situation, but obviously like MetLife was like the hardest one for us because we went through a few versions of that song because it wasn't quite right. And then I told him, I'm like, we got to add tremolo or something to the guitar. And then we did, and then it was perfect. Right. So it just takes like little tweaks, but we never like went back and like started, over from the beginning. But overall, it was very one at a time, which I like personally, because like we could like lock in and think about it and like really sit with it versus, coming back to it like when we have time. It's like, no, like let's like sit with this and figure it out,
Yeah, it doesn't muddy it all up either, right? Like it's a singular focus on this one.
Totally. And I think also a lot of musicians feel like this, but like the more you work at something, the worse it gets. And like I didn't want to deal with that, because it's just honestly a waste of time. And I knew that like usually your first, and if you're lucky, second go at it is like where it should be. I don't think you should be going back in and changing everything. It's just like start to
then it never gets finished either, right?
It never gets finished.
And you're never really happy with it. And you're like, we could have, should have, would have.
Totally.
Like,
yeah.
What were some of the big lessons that you learned in this project for Imaginary Friend that you hadn't known before working with your producer?
I think being open is something that I went in knowing, but it was hard to kind of like give up these like precious little things that, with someone that I didn't even know, and just hope that, it went well. And also I think I was afraid that I would be too people pleaser-y, where I, would say yes to things, but deep down I knew that I didn't really want that, just to, avoid confrontation or someone being annoyed at me, or just, like actually very human things have nothing to do with music. It's more like a personality thing. But I was just like, I really hope to God this time around, like I can really stick to my guns, because once it's done, it's done. And like once it's out, it's out, unless I do like an Imaginary Friend deluxe like 20 discs now where I redo the whole thing, which I don't genuinely want to do. But I was like, you really gotta try. And honestly, there are a few things, like very minor things. I don't even want to get into it, but and I think many musicians also deal with this for like things weren't actually the way you wanted it to go, and it actually wasn't perfect. And like even in the mixing and mastering process, there were a few things that everyone thought was right, and then you thought was wrong, but you just went with the majority vote. I dealt with that on this project a lot, and I told myself like they just want me to stop complaining about it, and I just like let it slide. And if I were to go back in time, I would have been like, no, this is how I want it. Actually, sorry, I don't really care if you find me incredibly annoying. This is how I want it. Luckily, now that I've learned my lesson, luckily it turned out just the way it was supposed to turn out, and I wouldn't change anything now. But I think I, learned a lot about myself and how I communicate and how to be a leader, in this environment. It's also a very male dominated field. And I think sometimes it's just hard to, I have no problem speaking and, saying how I feel, but I think sometimes you just kind of give up because you're like, these people don't get me no matter what. Not saying Joe Sidden or anything, but just in general, it's like, it's hard to like get your point across when you don't even really know how you feel, but you just want someone to understand. And it's like
hard to put that into words sometimes, eh? Like,
yes, of course, but
I want it like, I wish I had the
absolutely. Yeah, 100%. And I think moving forward, and I think I've done a really good job now, just being like, this is what I want and this is what I don't want. And if you show me a pass of something and I want something to be changed, I will vocalize that. And if you have an opinion, like, let's talk about it and we can figure it out. But like, I'm not going to yes man just to avoid like, oh, they think I'm so annoying, or I'm just like a perfectionist in a way that's not even like, no, like, so I definitely learned that. So
that's cool. That's a great lesson. I mean, that takes many people decades to figure out.
Absolutely. I mean, it's such a privilege to work with other talented people, and Joe knows a lot more than I do in a lot of realms. So I was like, it was just cool to just like kind of be shadowing him as he's just ripping through, Ableton or whatever. And I'm like, how are you doing this? But he was like very cool. Like when I wanted to do other like second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth takes, he would do it. And obviously some nights were really long, and he's like, okay, Kayla, if that's what you really want. And I'm like, thanks, but I think moving forward, I'll just be like, this is what I want. And then let's just do that,
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's your project, it's your songs, it's your face that you're putting out there, right? So it needs to represent what you feel inside. Or
of course. But that is such a personal problem. Like I'm like, everyone was absolutely fine in the making. And I think I learned a lot about myself, which I think is always like the greatest gift above all, So yeah.
And so the record came out, and like, how did you find people received it? Like, did it hit the way you wanted it to hit? Did the intention that you had with this come through, you think, after it was released and people were listening to it and you were doing shows and stuff?
Yeah, I think, well, I was sitting on this project for so long that like when it came out, I was just like, I wasn't already over it, but I was like, oh, this should have came out like so much sooner. But I was just so happy that it was just out, no longer, on like a private link. I'm like, this is a public information. Did it hit as hard as I thought it would? Yes and no. I think it made me happy that everyone had their own personal favorites, because I was so sure that people would love something so much and people wouldn't like other things. But I think it was a pretty equal balance across the board, which made me happy. I also think as like a newish artist, I think like first projects always kind of hit hard because it's like your entry into the world, and people just like love new things and are curious about people that they have no idea who they are. So yeah, and it's funny also, the song that did the best on Imaginary Friend was a song that I was sure would not do well at all. I thought it was in the last place. So my perception of it is always going to be skewed because I'm the one making it. But I think it hit incredibly hard in the way that it was well received in terms of how I wanted it to be perceived in the context of like, this was a time capsule group of songs that I wanted to come out before I turned a certain age. I think it represented me and all my like younger years, and it's interesting to hear you say that it felt so mature, because that's how I wanted to come across, obviously sonically, but the whole essence of that project was like childlike whimsy and like comforting yet like difficult nostalgia that was still and will always be prevalent in your life. Like many versions of you are still in you. You are just evolved and getting older, but like I wanted to kind of give a shout out to like my younger self, even if she was like so dramatic and like so sad and so whatever, you know?
Right, right. Yeah.
But
Kind of a closing of a chapter almost, and kind of I've created an artifact of that time,
yeah,
space,
totally.
moving forward into a
Yes, totally. I mean, it's really easy for artists to look back at like songs they had written years ago and be like, I can't even listen to this. Like, this is actually making like it's so cringy. And I had all these songs that I wrote literally years prior that I was like, this is pretty cringy, but they're also pretty good, you know? And I'm just like, I think they deserve a place, you know? And as we get older, our style changes. It gets cooler, better, worse, whatever. But like, it's just because you think of it differently now doesn't mean it wasn't something at the time. And I just wanted to let it have its own space and world.
You got to validate the life's experiences, you know, and I love that records can do that for people. For
Yeah.
artists, you know, it kind of like, because it is a ton of work, eh? Like you mentioned, like you're going, it's meticulous, it's like, and then it's out. Okay. And then life keeps
You
going.
can move on.
Yeah.
Then you could just simply move on. And if you think that you're this cool, more awesome, more intellectual person now, then be that person and make that music. But like that music still existed, and it clearly, you know, if people resonate with it, excuse me, now,
Yep.
it obviously means something to someone, even if you know it doesn't resonate with you now.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely. I love that about music is that once it's out in the ether there, I mean, people are going to take it or leave it the way they want. I mean, that's not your responsibility anymore. But it does, well, speaking for myself, it had a great effect on me. I mean, I really enjoyed listening to it. And it brings me to my last question, Kayla. This has been really great. I've really loved the way you tell your stories and
oh, thank you.
your enthusiasm and thoughtfulness in the answers. Where do you see the next steps coming for After Hours? Like, what do you hope to do over 2026 into 2027?
Well, I'm currently writing my next record right now with one of my best friends, Lutalo Jones. He is his own artist. He's so ripping. And he just produced an album for Runo Plum, and it was so good. And he's just the best. And yeah, she's the GOAT, and I love her down. And
I can see you guys circling in the same.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm like trying to get her to write a damn song with me because I would be so honored. But
so is it like a duet, Kayla, that you're working at? Like, or is it?
No, it's just After Hours produced by me and Lutalo, and I've never like been in a situation where I made an album or worked with someone that was just like my dear friend and who I, you know, it just makes sense for us. And we started writing it, and I'm like so excited about the new music, and it's a little different than my previous work in the same way that the second, like Imaginary Friend was different than my first self-titled project. But like the third one, I mean, I'm just really excited. And I think hopefully it will be like a full-length album. And I would love to get that on vinyl or something. So
yeah. You'll have tours, I guess, that accompany it, or shows that you'll...
Hopefully. I mean, these days I'm kind of just, you know, jumping on bills and playing with my friends, and it's been so fun. I haven't done any tour. I haven't played outside of New York City, so it would be cool to play legitimately anywhere else, and I'm sure one day I'll get there. I mean, my like absolute dream is to like support one of my favorite artists. But you know, these things take time, and I think when I think about the type of artist that I am and the type of artist I want to be, I kind of see myself being a slow burn, and I see myself just being not like a 20-year-old like viral artist. I see myself being like a really smart like 35-year-old woman, you know, who just has a cute little studio in her back house. I don't have any of these things, by the way, and I'm not that age, but I'm saying that's what I see for myself. But yeah, like I don't mind waiting and being patient. I think I just when things come organically, like I think people can pick that up when they listen to the music and it comes through, and that's kind of what I'm looking forward to, just continuing to write and just seeing my writing evolve too. I'm like, damn, like what the hell? It's just cool. Like you just get smarter and you get to know yourself a bit more like every quarter of the year, it seems like. And
I love this idea of the slow burn too, that,
oh yeah.
you're seeing this long term, and this is a part of the practice of becoming an artist where you're, sometimes fumbling, sometimes having huge highs and huge lows. It's like, that's how you get your chops in the end, right? Of
Absolutely.
getting to a space where you feel like you feel successful in a way.
100%. And I like respect a lot of artists that like put a lot of time and energy and effort into, curating their like TikToks and Instagram and all these things to reach audiences. And I just wish I was like that, but I'm like not. And I've like tried and it just doesn't really feel like me. And I think, I mean, it's such a ridiculous thing, but I'm like, the right people will find me. But like, actually, like, I really hope, and I mean, like, you found me, and like,
Found you.
now we're here. But yeah,
Well, and that's because your music resonated. It like connected to me. I'm telling you, it's like,
thank you so much.
I just really enjoy, again, your voice and the styles that you can interweave. I mean, and I kind of saw it too, like this record is like a sounding board a bit to like honing in a little bit more on direction that you want to go in. And like, let's make a record where we do all kinds of different things. Like, it's not limited to a certain thing.
Yeah.
It came through and it also flowed so well. So it wasn't like these like one song. Okay, there's the other song. There's the other song. They were all like, it was the record that really came.
That makes me so happy. Yeah.
Well,
it's just funny too, because like I'll go to like a punk show with like one of my bandmates and I'll be like, we should make a punk record. And then I'll go to like folk show and I'm like, we should make like a 1972 like Laurel Canyon record. Like they're like, you just need to relax. Okay. Like we can make all this music, just we can get it all done. But like that's how I am. Like I don't resonate with like one specific genre. I just think you can hear, especially an imaginary friend, I'm like kind of going into little worlds, but it's still my world, and that's kind of what I hope to make and continue to do as, time goes on and every record I put out ever.
Yeah, please carry.
Yeah.
Please keep doing it.
But what, I mean, may I ask what song did you resonate with the most, you think?
Well, I have the record right here in front of me. There were, Cherry Ears for sure. I mean, I probably listened to that many times over before I got into the rest of it. But I Know You. Like, it connects with me and my experiences, and like, it's such a relatable song. Congratulations is a cover, correct?
Yes, it is an MGMT cover.
Right. But done, like, I just love that too. I think it's done so well.
Thank you.
It's hard. It's like children, like.
I know. You're like, I have no favorite. Yeah. It's funny too, like I also placed the set list in chronological order of when I wrote them, obviously minus the cover. So Cherry Ears was like truthfully one of the first songs I ever wrote. Yeah, so it was like during COVID and I'd never really written a song before. So it just funny that like it's still my personal favorite from the project too, and it's like the oldest song I've ever written.
Like when I was writing songs too, like a first song would strike and it would be like lightning, and then it would ignite all this other stuff that I could see connecting back to that one. It was
totally
head of the record, and then you start to draw on the arms and the body and all that stuff. But yeah, it's just great. When can we expect maybe the release of another LP? Kayla?
Well, I'm going to Vermont next month to just go write. And then I think at the end of the summer, or maybe early fall, I'm going to go and try to record. And then, so if things go right, which they never do, probably the beginning, the first quarter of 2027, that would be great. I would really love that. So definitely next year. But good things take time. So
they do. And like you said, you never know. things that get in the way or push further, quicker.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
have an open heart, open mind, and
Yeah.
things happen.
Yeah.
Well, Kayla, thanks so much. People, go and check out After Hours. Kayla's got the greatest voice, in my opinion. Imaginary Friend came out last June, and it's worth the listen again. And if you can get a chance to see her in New York, Brooklyn area, go down there and check it out, because I'm sure she puts on a great show. Kayla, come back and visit again when you have your next record out, and we'll talk all about it.
100%. I'm so there. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kayla. That's great.
I wish we were cruising